some musings on Galatians 5 about the fruits of the Spirit and the fruits of the flesh. Within Christian theology, at least this is the way I used to understand it, is that because I came from a place of a sense of worthlessness, like there couldn't possibly be any good thing in me, so the root in me was that of that bitter, bad tree, and all I could produce was fruit of the flesh, anger and hatred and resentment and defensiveness, like really all the stuff that our wounded ego would produce. And because I was rotten at the core, rotten at the root, my tree could only produce fruit of the flesh. But that was due to the lack of self-identity. I did not know who I was. Then on the other hand of that, because I thought so little of myself, the fruits of the Spirit were considered as graces, God's graces, that He would allow me to operate in the fruits of the Spirit sometime at some point of the time, but not consistently, because the root in me was a rotten, diseased tree root. And if the root is diseased, the fruit is going to be diseased, if there is any fruit. It was not until I integrated, until I received greater conscious awareness from above, and realized that I was not a rotten tree at the core. My soul was not a rotten bad tree, but it was a self-image that my ego had produced from the past life trauma or childhood trauma that I experienced, that left me feeling worthless, of no value, because I interpreted the mistreatment of other people, the rejection, abandonment, and just this whole lack of love, and my psyche interpreted that I must be unlovable and worthless, and so from that place we only produced egoic fruits of the flesh. When I integrated through higher knowledge, through higher conscious awareness, and realized that at the core my soul is a fractal of divine source, of God, I realized that I was a precious gem. And as I began to integrate my wounds and heal my wounds through being able to self-love from this place of divinity, that gave me to understand that I have great value. I am worthy. I am awesome, aweful. I'm full of awe, full of value, full of beauty. That's when I began to infuse my wounds with all of that frequency of beauty and value and divinity. And it began healing my root. And as my root became whole, my tree started to produce the beautiful fruits of love, joy, peace, compassion, contentment, self-control, kindness, patience, because there was no longer lack. People will get confused about this self-love and think it's all about me, 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 looking from the lens of their wounded self, and they can't understand how you can be all about me. They can only see it from the negative lens, and it's that they think of it as you're exalting your wounded ego, your bloated carnal ego, but it's not that. It's the other me that I talk about now is the beautiful soul, the good tree that's producing the fruit of the Holy Spirit. And that is not something that God gives you from outside, like favors you with gifts from the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit, I'm going to just say it plainly. Religion has defined and defined everything according to separateness. Holy Spirit is not a separate being from yourself, outside of yourself. Holy Spirit is that holy soul that you are, that holy essence, that fractal of God. Your very own soul is the Holy Spirit. And so the fruits of the Holy Spirit start to appear on your tree when you're living from the identity of that divinity that you are. That's when the beauty starts to grow within you. And yeah, it's accessible, but it all is dependent on how we self-identify. If we identify only with our ugly ego, that keeps us in a sense of shame and guilt. Of course, we don't want to elevate that. We want to hide that away for no one to see. But the problem is you can't hide ego away. The more you hide it, the more it's going to manifest in unsavory ways. And there's many subtle ways that we will not notice, but if we are critical of others or suspicious of others and see other people in a negative light, we can be sure that we're looking through the lens of our own wounded ego. Even Jesus said about the tree, make the tree good and it will produce good fruit. So you have to make your tree good. You need to integrate the trauma and the things that made you feel ashamed of yourself and guilty and unloved and unvalued. Bring those into the light. Make the tree, make the root good. Love on yourself until you're made whole. And then you can live from that beauty of your divinity. There is no ego involved in that kind of self-love. It's the holy aspect of you, the holy soul.